free speech and its boundaries at public universities.
The sort of overlap between speech and conduct is difficult to manage.
There's less red tape for certain types of work offered in Arizona, what it means for consumers.
The best thing is to really start by doing some research.
The benefits of learning during the summer.
By the time they go back to school, they're not making up for lost time.
Hello and welcome to Arizona 360. I'm Lorraine Rivera. Thank you for joining us. Leadership at the University of Arizona is taking steps to address free speech on campus after landing in the national spotlight. This all stems from a situation last month when 3 students protested Border Patrol agents who were giving a presentation in a classroom. The 3 were later cited by U of A police. Next week, the university will host a campus conversation about the issue. This week, we heard from U of A professor of law Jane Bambauer about the role of free speech at public universities. College campuses seem to get this reputation as these symbols of free expression. What is it about college campuses that just create that environment?
Well, universities for a long time, 50, 60 years now, have been seen as the embodiment of the mission of the First Amendment, where we are supposed to come together for sometimes heated debate, but have tolerance for each other's viewpoints, even if we don't agree, and the ability also to hear each other and possibly change our minds. So that sort of the metaphor, the marketplace of ideas, is especially apt for the colleges and universities where the main trade is in ideas.
There are colleges across the nation that are having these conversations about free speech. Where do you suppose Arizona fits into it? I mean, how is free speech valued at the University of Arizona?
Free speech has been valued quite highly at the University of Arizona, and the fact that we're sort of embroiled in a controversy right now does not necessarily mean that the college has, prior to the controversy, done anything that would sacrifice First Amendment values. And in fact, FIRE, which is the Foundation for Individual Rights in Education, has rated the University of Arizona's speech on campus policies with a green light, the best, highest standards that it has. So the university has done an admirable job of making sure that people feel comfortable speaking, so long as it doesn't, cross the line into some sort of prohibited conduct.
Who's entitled to free speech? I mean, you have a student who is not comfortable with someone's presence and then vocalizes their concern, but then you also have someone who's here on campus invited to speak. So how do those two clash, and who's really at fault there?
Yeah, so a lot of campus problems, including the controversy we're in here, involve speech versus speech tensions, where 2 groups see the other's behavior as diminishing their ability to engage in an expressive activity. And one idea that sort of gets this across is that courts are often worried about providing an outlet for the heckler's veto, as it's called. And the idea is if somebody wants to come to campus to speak, but a group of demonstrators prevent them from being able to be heard, then it's the hecklers that end up winning. And so it is speech that's getting in the way of other speech. And that's, in a nutshell, what makes these issues so difficult to manage.
So who draws the boundary lines, and then at what point does it become harassment versus free speech?
The Supreme Court and the circuit courts have defined, when they get called on to answer questions like this, they have, especially recently, defined things like harassment quite strictly, so that there needs to be an imminent threat, an objectively verifiable and imminent threat, and so it's usually a pretty hard standard for regulators, whether it's university administrators or whatnot, to meet, and that's doubly true if the criminal process is involved. That said, there are times that demonstrators are doing things that are not just their message, but are also conduct that's prohibited, like trespass, for example, or destroying property. And so that's what makes this a little hard, because speakers can't speak without some actual physical effect on the world. and so the sort of overlap between speech and conduct is difficult to manage.
Here at the University of Arizona, we'll be hearing a number of campus conversations to address issues like this one. In your line of work, any belief that this is headed in the right direction? Or, I mean, how significant will these campus conversations be in the grand scheme of things?
Well, campus conversations are something that other university administrations across the country have tried, and sometimes with some success. There's at least a little bit of evidence from surveys that, you know, two student groups going in that feel quite dissatisfied with the university come out of the conversation feeling heard and understood, even if they don't get everything that they want. So it can be a recipe for success. President Robbins is facing a somewhat unprecedented set of circumstances, though, because there has been this criminal charge brought against 3 students, and that just really sort of amps up the consequences, or amps up the stakes. He's going to be walking a thinner tightrope than a lot of other university presidents.
Starting next year, Arizona will have 2 new laws on the books that change the rules around licensed professions. This past week, Governor Ducey signed a measure that removes cosmetology licensing requirements for people who only blow dry, shampoo, and style hair. The previous week, he signed a bill that makes it easier for licensed professionals from other states to move to Arizona and get their certifications here. Under the new legislation, Arizona will recognize licenses granted by other states as long as the applicant meets certain requirements. It's the first law of its kind in the country. We learn more from Jonathan Cooper, a reporter for the Associated Press in Phoenix. He spoke to us via Skype. Who are we talking about specifically when we're discussing whether or not someone is regulated, whether or not they have their licensing?
There's a whole class of professions that require a license to do your job in Arizona. They tend to be concentrated in construction, in real estate, financial services, medicine, dentistry. So we're talking about doctors, dentists, dental hygienists, nurses, real estate agents, appraisers, home inspectors, insurance agents, whole gamut of professions across the economy.
One of the arguments that we heard in the legislature this year is that somehow fewer regulations equate to lesser wages. In your reporting, has that been some of the argument you've heard about?
The Obama administration did a study in 2015 on occupational licensing, and one of their findings was that the licensing of various professions does raise wages because it keeps down the supply of providers. So one can assume that if you have more competition for in the labor market, that's going to put downward pressure on wages. I asked the governor about this. Governor Ducey said, he dismissed the idea that it would put any sort of downward pressure on wages. He says that Arizona is growing quickly, and that there's growing demand for these services, and so that'll make up for any sort of issues that you might have with the wages.
And just to be clear, these are not individuals who come to Arizona and haven't had an experience or licensing previously. These are people who have been certified in other states. They're just coming here to say, we'd like to continue our work in Arizona.
That's correct. Yeah, in order for this legislation to help you, you have to have a license from another state for at least a year, and you during that time, you can't have any sort of disciplinary action against you. So, and one of the misconceptions about this is you still need an Arizona license. You're still going to have to, if you move here from another state and you have your cosmetology license, you can't just start practicing in Arizona. You're still going to have to get in touch with the cosmetology board, pay the licensing fees, and get licensed before you can do the work.
And if you have this licensing already in place, there are state agencies that sort of marshal your work. Any indication that those agencies, maybe the Better Business Bureau, for example, or the Department of Health, has said anything about this legislation thus far?
The legislative debate was pretty muted. The Better Business Bureau, which is they did not weigh in. The licensing boards, which are part of the executive branch of government, did not weigh in. So that's not necessarily surprising, given that it was a top priority for the governor.
In some circles, this has become a partisan issue. Based on your research, where does Arizona seem to fit when it comes to fewer regulations for professionals like these?
Arizona seems to be fairly average by my perusing what other states require as far as occupational license. One difference that we have is we don't license some of the trades like electricians and plumbers, and a lot of other states do. But as far as the professions that we do license here in Arizona, the training requirements, the testing requirements tend to be pretty average.
Is there an economic argument here? Could Arizona lose money because people aren't having to jump through the same hoops, perhaps?
The supporters of this really made the economic argument front and center. They see it as a boon to the economy. And there's kind of an interesting coalition of support for the idea that occupational licenses are bad for the economy and bad for individuals. You know, on the left, on the right, you have conservatives and libertarians who say that requiring a license is a barrier to people's freedom and it's a barrier to work, and that the free market can take care of bad actors within that. And on the left, you have people who say that it keeps low-income people of color from climbing into the middle class. These are good, solid middle-class jobs, but if you have to get a year of training, you have to take on student loans to get that year of training. You know, that's a real barrier to somebody being able to move up the career ladder. So you hear a lot of the debate around this was around the idea that this will be good for the economy because people can move here and they can get to work and start paying taxes. That was certainly the argument we heard from the governor.
Jonathan Cooper joining us from Phoenix via Skype for the Associated Press. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Professions that require occupational licenses are monitored by several state agencies. Private groups like the Better Business Bureau also keep track of a company's reputation, and there are steps we can take as consumers to vet our options. We got advice from Miriam Cruz with the BBB of Southern Arizona.
So the great thing about modern technology is that we have all these resources available, and sometimes they're at the palm of our hand through our phone. So the best thing is to really start by doing some research. If it's really a profession where a license is required, visit the licensing agency's website. If you want to, you can also call if you feel more comfortable with that. So there are a lot of resources for consumers to use. You can also do a Google search. Those are pretty effective as well because you get to see the types of comments that people are saying about that particular company or particular industry. And also some articles provide great tips on how to go about finding a trusted professional.
What sorts of criteria do these professionals have to meet in order to get on your good side, to meet your good graces, the Better Business Bureau?
So the good thing about Better Business Bureau is that we have business profiles on companies, whether they are accredited with us or not. So let's say you go on there, you're really trying to find information about, a plumber or an AC company. And you can find rating information. So we rate companies from a scale from A+ to F, just like in school, based on complaints and customer reviews. So you can see if the company has had any complaints filed against them, if positive or negative customer reviews have been submitted through the Better Business Bureau. And it's really a really good resource because you find everything in one place.
There's a perception out there that you have to pay or meet certain criteria to get that accreditation. Is it factual?
So to become a BBB accredited business, we do vet companies. So we have a thorough application process. Well, if the company is required to have a license, we do check with the licensing agency. So that's a plus about going through Better Business Bureau because if that company is required to have a license, we'll already have that on the report. So if they're required and they don't have it, they cannot be an accredited business with Better Business Bureau. They also cannot have a letter grade that is below a B-. So let's say a company has a lot of complaints and they want to become accredited, they really have to resolve those complaints to qualify for accreditation. So there is a small fee associated with accreditation, but it is based on an application process, the vetting process.
What sorts of things will earn an A or an A+?
So the businesses that are committed to accreditation really are operating honestly and ethically. And we have A standards of trust. So they have to be trustworthy, honest, transparent. So we check a lot of the areas of the business, so including their marketing material. Because a lot of people will say, well, I don't really believe in marketing material because they're not always honest. Well, that's one of the standards that a business that is accredited must follow, that you must make true claims on your advertising.
If there is no licensing and you don't quite know what you're about to get into when you're engaging in a business transaction, that's risky, correct?
Right. So a lot of the licensing requirements that are set either by our state or any other state across the country are usually there to protect the consumers, or they were a result of problem that occurred in the industry. So it is very important for consumers to keep that in mind as they select a company, because especially for purchases that are in the thousands of dollars or purchases that are important to you, because that industry set those standards for a reason. So.
And what are your options should you not have a good experience with a business?
Right. So the great thing about Better Business Bureau is that if you have tried to resolve the issue or the complaint with the company and they haven't responded, or you haven't come to a resolution, you can submit an official complaint. And at that point, we'll start an investigation. We'll reach out to the customer and we'll say, hey, what's going on here? If it's an accredited business, they are obligated to respond to that complaint. And that way, we just kind of work with both the consumer and the business to find a resolution. And also the licensing agencies are a great resource as well. They take complaints, like the Register of Contractors will take complaints as well. And the good thing about BBB is that we also work with other government agencies. So if we see an influx of complaints for a certain company or a certain industry, we collaborate with that agency to make sure that, if it's a scam, that no people are not taken advantage of, or provide tips to avoid others falling for that.
Okay, Miriam, thank you.
Thanks.
Is 1 to the 8th. Okay. We're gonna do one more, and I'm gonna have you.
It's that time of year when many kids start counting down the weeks to summer vacation. For some, skills learned this school year can get rusty over the months spent away from the classroom. Teddy Schnoor teaches early childhood education at Pima Community College and offered insight on how to prevent a summer setback. What would you say are some of the greater benefits of having children who are actively engaged throughout the summer when it comes to academics as well?
One of the big benefits is that by the time they go back to school, they're not making up for lost time. The research shows that the average loss in math and reading is about a month's worth of loss from the prior year, and that's an average. Some children lose actually more than that. So if nothing's done all summer to help reinforce some of the things they were learning, they're going to go back to school in a deficit. And that's obviously hard on the child, it's hard on the teachers and all that. So in early childhood, we really believe about the whole child. So we want the child to have a wide range of activity. So some activities can be sitting down and reading a book, especially with someone else, making it an interactive experience. Go! Other times it's getting out and being active physically outside, swimming, doing other things that children need to have physical outlets for. So they need a variety, and they can do that just through casual opportunities at home or through structured programs that are available in the community.
Some of these activities that you're describing can be costly for families. So what sorts of things, if they are evaluating, is it worth us making the investment versus staying home with a relative? What sorts of things should they consider when they're going to make that investment?
Well, obviously cost is a big factor. So that drives a big part of the decision. The other thing is they don't have to have their child go to camp all summer. If a family chooses to do that, they can, but families don't need to feel pressured that that's the only way a child has to spend their time. So, they might have an opportunity to do some kind of community-based program for a week out of the summer, and then they might spend a few weeks at home, a few weeks with a relative, maybe visiting with grandma, maybe a little traveling. So the summer can be varied, and that can be just fine for children. They get what they need.
I'm glad you brought up grandma, because I'm one of those kiddos who grew up bouncing around between the nanas and just running around in the streets. I mean, that's important too for kids to just be able to have access to family and just socialization in other aspects outside of a school.
Yes. Family is very important. We don't want to forget about time with family. And when children are in school year-round, it's hard to have downtime to just go and be with the relatives and sit on grandma's lap and bake the cookies and do all the fun things that we enjoy doing with grandma. And so, and some grandparents don't live nearby. And so it gives an opportunity for children, if the family can travel, to have that opportunity when school's in session. It doesn't always allow that kind of flexible time.
What sorts of things should parents be doing as they get closer to the beginning of the new school year, when I got to remember to teach my little one, multiplication and other things like that?
Yeah. I recommend that they do that sporadically throughout the summer. I mean, they don't have to jump on it the first week the child's out of school, especially if they're off for a good 3 months. But regular integration of just daily opportunities to reinforce the things that they were learning in school in very natural and authentic ways is the best way to do that, because the child will actually retain and do better with the information if it's done in a very natural way. So for example, math. Math is one of the first areas that loss occurs in over the summer. Reading is second. So those are the skills that children tend to lose quickly over the summer if they're not doing anything with them. So for math, for example, children have access to working with money. So if they're already at an age where they can count, we use money every day. We use it all the time. So when they go shopping, it's a good opportunity to naturally reinforce math skills using money. Just basic things that, recipes and cooking, measuring, letting the child be involved in the measurement of the ingredients. Just really basic things. Parents don't have to do sophisticated ideas. It just needs to be relevant to something that the child can practice the skills in some real kind of situation.
There are pros and cons to technology like tablets, computers, and cell phones. What is your message to parents or caregivers who are trying to decide, how much should I be giving my child access to during the summer?
There are some recommended guidelines. The American Academy of Pediatrics does have some guidelines they recommend in this area. Typically, for children that are elementary school or above, they typically recommend no more than 2 hours of screen time a day. So children can spend their other hours doing other developmental opportunities. So it's really easy. I have a teenage son, so I understand this. It's really easy to spend a lot of time on the screen if you're given, especially if you're at home and you don't have a lot of structure going on. It's very easy to spend time that way. So we just encourage parents to just monitor it, provide other opportunities of other things that children can do that are interesting and fun for them, because we want summer to be fun. And that way they have some enticement to get off of the screens and do some other things.
Okay, Teddy Schnur from Pima Community College, thank you so much.
Thank you.
By mid-spring, many families have already decided where to send their kids to keep them busy during the summer. Programs often fill up quickly and can be costly, posing an additional hurdle for low-income families. It's a population served year-round by the John Valenzuela Youth Center in South Tucson. Program coordinator Jessica Alderete spoke to us last week about the services offered at the center.
We're almost like a home away from home, if you will. That's what we like to say about we are. It's just we're the home away from home, the place that the kids and the families can feel comfortable and know that we're there to support them.
And you really do target, well, I shouldn't say that you target high-risk, low-income students, but that's your demographic in that region.
Definitely. Like you said, we do not target, but that's the community we serve. And so because of their demographics, there are lots of challenges out there. So we are eager to find partners to help us fill those gaps and support us in any way they can, and also to let the kids know that they can do whatever they want to do, but we want to provide opportunities for them.
What sorts of services are you offering the students?
We offer the kids a lot of different opportunities. We offer dance, we also offer tutoring, educational support, sports, even just socialization is a huge part of it. Making good decisions. We really try to role model to our kids, when you have an issue, let's work it out, let's mediate. How do you mediate this yourself? Because we want them not only to learn how to do it, but then and there, but we want to take them to take that in life and learn how to do that for life. Because we're trying to give them the skills that they need for life to be successful in whatever they do.
Tell me what services are offered to age groups, and then summer. I know that's a time that can be a challenge for families, especially affordability.
Definitely. So something about our programs is we charge nothing for all of our services. So all of our services are free, which is the reason why we have so many waiting lists. We do also have programs for our middle school and high school. We have a daytime program that we incorporated because we know daytime is hard for a lot of middle schoolers. Yeah. So we do house them the same time, and they participate in the same types of things our younger kids do. But we also have an evening program that runs until 7 o'clock, and that's more focused on our teens. So our little guys aren't there, so it's just time for them.
What are some of the factors that you do consider when the students come to you? I mean, there are some real challenges at home. So what's life like for them prior to arriving at the center?
That's one thing that we always take into consideration. A lot of our families come from single family homes. A lot of them come from families that are being raised by a parent, a grandparent, an aunt or uncle, and sometimes there's multiple families together. So something that we always kind of think about is, what did our kids deal with when they got here? So when we greet them, it's, hey, how are you doing? How was your day? We really try to make that impression, because we don't know if they've had breakfast. We don't know if they've had a horrible day at school. We don't know what's going on with them. So we want to provide that opportunity to say, let's flip that. And sometimes those are my words. You know, what happened at school, I know you had a rough day, but this is something different. Let's start new. And we do work closely with the school. And the school is awesome and amazing. There's some great teachers that will come over and touch base with how are the kids are doing. Like I said, we do offer sports. Part of the kids' sports program is they do have to be doing well in school, and it doesn't mean straight A's. It means not only academically turning in homework, but also behavior.
You are funded by the Catholic Diocese, but it does take an army of support beyond that. So what sorts of resources do you have that make all this possible? Because it can't be very affordable at times.
No, it definitely is not. And we are always searching for funding. Funding is always an issue. If we had more money, we could hire more staff to provide more services for children in our community. But we seek grants, but we also turn to our partners that offer their services for free. And that's truly the only ways that we are impacting these children, because without people donating their time, energy, effort, and sometimes their financial, financially, our kids wouldn't succeed. And we are truly gifted with having great partners and great people that are willing to give their time, energy, and money to our kids, because we see the benefits. We see our kids growing. We see our kids going above and beyond, and that's only through other people's support. We're calculating that kids that stay continuously involved in the center, 95% of them are moving from grade to grade and graduating, but these are kids that are continuously staying involved with the youth center. So we do see that benefit, and that's what we hope and encourage our families to keep their kids involved.
Okay. All right, Jessica, thank you so much.
Oh, not a problem. Thank you so much for having us, and just letting everybody know that our kids, there's such a need for funding, but that people are out there serving and people are out there giving of their time, and we appreciate that. So thank you.
And that's all. Thanks so much for joining us. Be sure you visit us on social media and let us know what you think. We'll see you next week.